The equator is slow. The equator is a zone of shared ambiguity. The equator is an opaque grid of information. The equator has no doors, no windows, courtesy Leibniz. The equator is no reason to do anything. The equator is occupying your screen. The equator is a film I'd like to see made by somebody else. The equator is thinking about the end of art as we know it. The equator is a pure exhibition of military hardware and software spin-offs. The equator is terminal madness. The equator is decentralized democracy. The equator is resistance by other means. The equator is difference as identity. The equator is endless rebirth. The equator is where we can be angels. The equator is many persons in one body. The equator is one person in many bodies. The equator is listening. The equator is where language is spoken and written at the same time. The equator is a successful misunderstanding, courtesy David. The equator is all middle. The equator is a journey from one instant to the next. The equator is a city of bridges. The equator is the geography of mind. The equator is playing at a cinema not near you, but in you. Take 2. On the inner city between Cologne and Karlsruhe, 18th of February. Paradigms are shifting from the mechanical to the medial, from thingness, Dingkeit, to isness, Istigkeit. There is this desire, this perceived lack of the ismi, Istig, which has motivated legions of students to pick up where the Cold War left off and write free software to get people connected to the internet. Take 3. Lion Hotel, Kampala, Uganda, 21st of June. I'm embarrassed to say I expected high fives and loud music at the airport when we landed in Entebbe. Anyway, what greeted us was unbroken silence. A silence that said, I know what ground is under these feet. We'd met a bunch of students. Since there is little or no middle class here, and they don't live like most others by the side of the road, they have to come from the ruling class. Still, their English is better than mine, and their political engagement far beyond my own. 2 of them joined our team, Andrew and Jude. They got the Otherlands idea in 2 seconds. Maybe they'll relieve me of my core duty in due course. I hope so. I can't stand the techno-stress. And I'm tired of the Cage criticism we're getting in the press. John Cage, that is. They used to complain that his music was arbitrary, random. That's what they're saying about our movie. He tried to free sound, like we're trying to free the shot. To free sound from, no pun intended, the cage of composition. Free from the control of the author, like we're freeing the shot from the control of the director. The problem with computers is that there's not enough Africa in them. Courtesy Brian Eno. Take 4. In my room, Karlsruhe, Ulandstrasse, 3rd of January. Networks and Otherlands is just one more, are nothing new. Just look at your body. Or look at the Roman road coupled with Gutenberg's press. When European man rediscovered the source of the Nile in 1872, he telegraphed it to the world from Uganda. It read, "The Nile is settled." Now, a network is a negotiated environment, a two-way street. The burning question is, for how much longer? Take 5, Sun Sun Hotel, Sing Singapore, 6th of August. I had to come here to understand how disappointing architecture can be. Everything is concrete, architectural formaldehyde. Even the green spaces, sprayed weekly with pesticide, are hard as cement to sit on. The buildings, all with names like Lucky Plaza, Suntech City, the Prime Center, Fortune Center, and my favorite, across from the hotel, the Peace Center. More guns inside than Fort Bragg. A video arcade like Wowee. Row after row of virtual cops and kung fu fighters. Terminal madness. Sing Singapore, 100% urban. No change since 1984. And now the city fathers want to urbanize cyberspace. They call it Singapore 2000. A network terminal in every home. No nomad wanderers allowed, though. Every access is over a centrally censored proxy server. An urban internet for spit and polish Singapore. Take 6, Cafe Gloria, Cologne, 4th of May. My story behind the equator, and there are others, is twofold. One dates back almost 5 years, the other more than 250. An eccentric traveler named Pocock journeyed up the Nile, across Egypt, and through Palestine in the 1740s. Some of his drawings of architectural sites are their only remaining records due to subsequent war. He collected them into a book called A Description of the East and Some Other Countries. What I related to was not his vague kinship to my family. That was only how I found out about him. I related to his take on travel as art, as information, and even more, his specifically unspecific view of destinations, implicit in his fuzzy choice of words and some other countries. It became clear to me that geographical terrain was not his point as much as his own geography of mind. His travel was not so much about locating himself in new spaces, but locating new spaces in himself, traveling to destinations within. That's just like cyberspace. Flashback, 1977, Gregory Babcock writing in his essay, Art Express. The airplane industry seems to be exploiting the wrong principle, namely that of getting people from one place to another quickly. They defy another principle, the important principle of not getting anybody any place at all. The future idea of travel and what it is all about, namely the functionless, uneconomic, sensual, and cerebral idea of art itself. Thus, travel becomes important as travel in much the same way that art was, is important as art.